This is Business Beyond Bizarre, a podcast of the slightly unusual. Here's your host, Peter Anthony Holder.
Hello and welcome to Business Beyond Bizarre, a podcast that will take you off the beaten path. This is a show that will introduce you to people who have slightly quirky hobbies or businesses. Some of them remain hobbies. Some of them turn into businesses. All of them will make you do a double take. I've come across these people because I host a weekly radio show called The Stuff File Program that features interviews and quirky news stories. Those interviews can be with celebrities, authors, and other professionals. But I also strive to seek out people who think out of the mainstream and create their own venture, be it a hobby, club, business, or even a religion. So let's not waste any time here and just dive right in, starting from behind. In North Carolina, there is a company called Liquid Ass. It's run by two guys named Alan Wittman and Andrew Masters, who have created a novelty product. It's a fart spray. Yes, a fart spray. How does an idea like this spring to mind?
Well, actually, it was invented by accident back when I was in high school, and this is Alan Wittman. You know, one thing led to another. I went to college, I went and got an engineering job, and we were having some issues with the managers and some things that were going on. We were about to be laid off. I decided to bring some in to work, and I guess the rest is history after that. That's when Liquid Ass was formally named and created.
Since the beginning of mankind's ingenuity, there has been a plethora of inventions that have been created by mistake. So what were these guys actually trying to make other than a fart spray?
Well, I can't really get into that, but I can tell you that it smells nasty and it's actually safe, which is the unique thing about Liquid Ass.
It's almost like they're keeping military secrets. Oh, but we'll get to the military later. So, they made a mistake. Often mistakes are discarded. But no, Alan and Andrew sensed that they had something here. And that sense was a hideous odor. What kind of R&D or market research did they do?
The first market was us. Our paths crossed working for an engineering department in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and we didn't like our managers, and Alan kept talking about the stuff he had in high school, and he still had a little bit left. And he kept talking about how he was going to bring it in one day, and one day he did, and we used it, and we pretty much had a 9,000 square foot area smelling like ass for about 4 hours. And, that started the product testing and market testing, I guess you might say, where we were just having a blast for 3 months. And one day I said to the Wittman here, I said, this is the best stuff I've ever used. I said, we should sell this.
Yeah, I looked at him, I said, well, maybe we should. And then one thing led to another. We decided to go in on a partnership and just sort of head down that road and see where it went. And we didn't really know how to make it in mass quantities. We didn't know anything about creating a website. We didn't know anything about, starting a business. So we pulled an LLC and we started down that path. And here we are today talking to you.
Well, I think the quote of the day is, it's the best stuff I've ever used. And my first question to that is, compared to what?
Well, I like doing pranks in college, and I had my fair share of them. And one of them that I tried was the original fart spray that you get at Spencer's or used to. And that just didn't do anything. I used it, it smelled, but I went and I had hit a guy's room, went in there a half hour later, and it didn't smell. And so I ended up spending $5 for a prank that didn't do anything. But as far as just not, when I say the best thing I've ever used, as far as any prank involved, as far as pulling pranks, you can do it anonymously. It's effective. It gets everybody's attention, and you are laughing, and no one knows about it. So you can do just like the shampoo instructions and repeat.
So far, my major takeaway from this conversation is, don't get on these guys' bad side. Anyway, you might be keen on using Liquid Ass, but you're not quite sure just how much to use. Everything comes with instructions.
If you're using the Mister, which is the form most people buy it in, we have a streaming tip, which is like a squirt gun, which you end up using about a third of a bottle for that. But with a Mister, a couple pumps will take a room out. I mean, absolutely annihilate a room for a good half an hour. There's at least 120 pumps in a bottle, probably more than that. That's probably conservative. So you get a lot of use. It doesn't take much. It's very concentrated, and that's the beauty of it. You don't have to walk around with a gallon of it to get the job done. It doesn't take much at all.
I'd hate to be a new car dealer that got you upset.
Well, we've had people that said they got a deal on their cars and houses and everything else. We don't recommend that, but there's crazy things, just like this guy that used it in the bar, supposedly sprayed some girl with it. I don't know if that was probably the best idea, but, it's just like weapons. You can't stop somebody using it incorrectly.
So, dear listener, before you go off guns a-blazing about what sounds like two overaged frat boys with arrested development, let me assure you that Alan and Andrew are just fun-loving guys with no malice of heart, and their product actually has a viable, important application. Remember earlier when I mentioned the military? Well, they're involved.
Stu Seagal from Strategic Ops, he contacted us, and apparently they have a triage operation where it's a simulation where they train Navy SEALs and military personnel. I guess it works really well when they're doing bowel injuries and things like that, where they got to simulate people going and picking them up and working on these mannequins. So they want the smell to make it ultra realistic. He's got like a studio set that's, it's sort of like Hollywood in a way, I guess. They've got the buildings, they got the little tower, they've got the call to prayer and all this stuff going on because they were doing some type of Iraqi type stuff when they were doing it. And it really makes it real. And we also have companies that buy it for, college training kits, for bowel surgery and whatnot.
So, here we have two well-respected, highly trained engineers who decided to cast fate to the wind, literally, give up their well-paying jobs and embark on selling a fart spray. How does a decision like this go over with family and friends?
Well, I think it's pretty reasonable that somebody would go out and sell ass for a living. I mean, but no, my parents were skeptical if it was a good idea or not. Now my dad uses it at the horse track when he goes in Florida and just has an absolute blast with it. So he's definitely on board. My wife was less than happy about it at the time, and I told her that if we made money with it, then I'd take her back to Jamaica where we had gotten married at Sandals and the Grill. And 2 years later, we made our first dime, and I did make good on that promise. And she's definitely on board with it now, and it's now how I make a living. So it's sort of living the dream.
On the other hand, my wife thought it was a great idea, and now I'm divorced.
On the entrepreneurial train, apparently not everyone comes along for the ride. In business, it's nice to have a premium product, but in this world, if you're going to survive, you might just want to branch out and diversify.
We have package deals. The package deals are way better than buying the single bottles. I mean, as far as variation, we have Barfume, which is a puke smell. We have Texas, that's really designed for the streaming tip version of the bottle or the cap. And it's sort of a two-part smell. You lay it down and it smells good for a while, like a nice rack of ribs cooking, a nice barbecue smell. And then that flashes off first, and then it goes back to the ass smell that we all know and love. As far as other variations, that would be the streaming tip versus the mister. Streaming tip is it's a rubberized bottle. It shoots out sort of like a squirt gun. You can sort of hold that in the palm of your hand. And I always say if you're getting your enemy, you want to use that one.
I always use a streaming tip.
Yeah, well, he's always got enemies, but but if you want to get your friend's house, you want to use the mister, so it sort of hits hard and goes away quicker. It doesn't stick on anything. It's sort of in the air, and you mist it into the air, then it can just sort of go away with the air. But if you put it on something, it's going to hang around. That could be a problem depending where you're at. The other thing that we sell on the website is we have a fake human turd and we have ultra realistic dog turds. You definitely want to take a look at those on the website as well. I mean, they've got corn and hair in them. You're not going to find that in any other dog turd or human turd.
Perfection is very important and authenticity in anything you do. So kudos to you guys for going the extra mile. When I first talked to the purveyors of pungent poo, it was before the scourge we now know as COVID-19. The global pandemic has laid many a business to waste. So I felt compelled to reach back out to these guys to see how business was going. You'll be happy to know they are still enjoying the sweet smell of success.
Surprisingly, we've done well. I fully expected to have a couple down years, and things have only gotten better. I guess people being stuck at home, their mischievous natures come out a little more.
Right. This is Alan, but it seems like first month when we had to do that 2 weeks of try not to spread everything out or whatever they called it, stop the spread, right? That month that happened, it wasn't a 0 month, but it was not a good month. And then after that, it seemed like sales picked up, especially on syringes, which was really odd because we don't sell a whole lot of the syringes. We call it the ass in the crack syringe, and it's on our website at liquidass.com. We don't sell a ton of those, but all of a sudden we were selling like one a day. That lasted for months, and we could only assume that it was because of the pandemic and people being maybe cooped up and maybe being mad at each other, because it really is sort of a revenge tool. I guess our product, what we sold sort of changed versus, liquid ass and dog turds and all the different products. They sort of changed around a little bit, which was the top sellers, I suppose.
And I should explain that the syringe, we sell that because it gives you about 25 to 30 foot application distance. It was something that we were just using for fun ourselves when we were, let's say, tearing up the workplace.
So to speak.
And we decided that, we were using it so often, we needed to sell something similar.
Oh, please. Explain the syringe.
Well, it came about because Alan went to the dentist, and for whatever they were doing with him, he ended up with a syringe. I don't know if he saw one and asked for it. I can't remember exactly, but he brought it into work because he's like, hey, I think this thing might be something we can use. And sure enough, it worked great because at the time we had our streaming tip bottle would give you about 6 feet of application distance, and this syringe would put the product out about 25 to 30 feet.
Something you can put underneath the door easily. We call it the ass in the crack syringe for a reason, because it's got an 1/8-inch tube on it that you can put in any 1/8-inch crack. So, if you got a little bit of room there, you can get underneath the door, window, whatever it is. You can light the place up pretty good, and it's a stealth thing. It's you don't want to get caught. You just want to get in and get out. You can carry it. You can load it up. Comes with a little cap on it, so you can load the thing up, take it to your destination, let it rip, and just throw the thing away or keep it. Whatever you want to do, but you're done.
And I will say that it works well. Shortly after I was introduced to it by Wittman. I was working on my master's degree at the time, and there was a professor I really did not like, and I decided that I was going to give him something else to think about. And I went into class early. No, I'm sorry, it was later, and put that syringe right under his door and hammered it down. And the next day was finals, and I remember going in early and looking up at the window where this guy's office was, and it was like we had just had a cold front move through, so it was like 15 degrees, and his window was wide open.
Okay,
and it smelled like ass. Okay.
And it smelled like, yes.
Okay, so what I'm hearing here, Andrew, is that even though you and Alan have been very successful with this business for years, you're still not quite committed to accepting some of the blame because you point out that Alan has roped you into this.
We kind of roped each other in.
Yeah. It's been an interesting ride, let me just say that.
And as I said earlier, part of the key is diversification.
We've got all kinds of different turds. We keep playing around with different versions of that, and some are available at different times. We had a turd sickle at one time. I don't think we have any of those left right now. Sorry, we don't have any of those left, but maybe we'll make the turd sickle again, depending on the
I would say probably the most popular new one was the idea that Alan had when we were making our big dog turds of saying, hey, why don't we make one that's got a shoe print in it? And that's probably the one that's been the most popular as far as new ideas. Now, we're always working on new smells, but that's a lot difficult.
Yeah,
it's more difficult than you would think to come up with new smells. I mean, although we're always at least casually working on it, no new smells yet.
But it has to rise to the level of liquid ass or better if we put something out. And we set the bar pretty damn high on that one. That's tough to beat.
I did have a smell that definitely to me smelled like a rotten carcass with maggots in it. Because it's one thing to smell something rotten, but when it's got maggots in it, that's a different smell. But I just couldn't get it to have the longevity of liquid ass, and we decided to forego that because we didn't want to let down our customer base based on current expectations.
Again, for the record, Andrew, I just heard you say just a few moments ago, once again, you threw Alan under the bus.
What did I say to throw Alan under the bus? I missed that one.
You gave him credit for the shoe print one. Again, taking no responsibility. I'm just saying that. I'm just stating the facts here.
But it was awesome. So
Okay.
It's a good under the bus.
We both have our moments of these brilliant flashes.
The success of Liquid Ass has gone global. It sells right across the US and in Canada, plus it's found a market in the UK and prank-happy Japan. But still, not everyone plays along. What were the words of that song? Oh yes, every party needs a pooper, that's why we invited you, party pooper.
There's always people who just don't get it.
We call those victims.
Yes.
We got to have that, right? We got to have those people.
I mean, even good friends of mine look at me and just like, I just don't understand why how you're selling that. I don't understand. It's, you know, one of my good friends is just like, that is just so mean.
Oh, by the way, it might be painfully obvious as to where the name Liquid Ass came from, but it too has an origin story.
Kind of off the cuff thing that Wittman did. We were started working on this while we were still had our day jobs, and we decided to go on this path. So obviously you have to have a name. So we went and grabbed a conference room, and so we walking in there, and Wittman started to sit down, and he's like, "So what are we going to call it?" All right, no, I said that. I said, "So what are you going to call it?" And Wittman sits down. And he goes, "I don't know, Liquid Ass." I'm like, "Oh, that's it."
Yeah, he was just like, "That's it." I said, "Let me sleep on that for a little bit. I'm not sure if we can go there or not." But the more I thought about it, if you smell the product, I think that you could probably come up with that possibility. I mean, we've had people call it by name walking down the hall, so I think we nailed it.
Alan Wittman and Andrew Masters, the guys behind Liquid Ass. You can check them out online at liquidass.com.
Next time on Business Beyond Bazaar.
We'll go to South Africa to meet Les Ansley, a man who created a premium gin that's made by filtering elephant dung to get a unique botanical mix. This will probably be one place where a fart spray is redundant.
This has been Business Beyond Bazaar, a presentation of Flying Fish Communications and Group Fair Play.